Hi folks, this is part 2, Randazza versus Cox, just kind of an overview of the complaint. I'm going to talk about different motions and pretty much every motion on the docket at some point. And the reason I'm doing that per each law and details is to help educate you on what attorneys like Mark Randazza and his friends do to their victims. They target somebody and they sue them to set court precedences. They target them to teach them a lesson. They target people they don't like. They target them to force them into some sort of an outcome or to get their legal fees. And then they make the courts, they'll sue them, and then they'll have their buddies, the judge, rule that that person they sued owed them court fees for suing them. It's crazy. All right, so we are at the allegations common to all counts. Okay, he's bragging and touting himself as a nationally recognized First Amendment and intellectual property law firm. Okay, licensed in Nevada, Florida, Arizona. I think he's also licensed in California somehow, the 9th, and he's licensed in Canada. He's a First Amendment expert, and he uses his First Amendment and intellectual property expert. He used that to steal my intellectual property. He's used it to sue Monica Foster. He's used his expertise and connections to make it look like his victims are the bad guys. And not only has he done this at the court level, his friends in the court, his friends at GoDaddy, his legal friends, his judge friends, his Ninth Circuit reporters, but he's also done it in bigger media like NPR and Forbes and just some pretty high-profile Ninth Circuit reporting, and these guys either believe him or they're deliberately defaming and trashing those same people and victims for Mark Randazza for some reason. Or they just believe him because he's an attorney and he's an expert in his field. But you can use an expertise for the good or for the bad, as you know. Okay, so basically this area, he just brags about, you know, his appearance on CNN, Boston Globe, New York Times, Fox News, and you know, he just brags about all of his connections. He speaks on panels about First Amendment and intellectual property, yet he violated my First Amendment rights, he violated my intellectual property rights, he completely hypocritically went against everything he says about SLAPP lawsuits, First Amendment, free speech. He claimed in one case that it was unconstitutional to get a TRO, which is a protective order, to take someone's free speech rights, their First Amendment rights, just shut down their blog. But he did it not to one blog post of mine, but to dozens of blogs. Just flat out stolen and redirected my intellectual property, my years of hard work, my network, my proprietary knowledge, redirected it back at myself. So like, he took brought it right back at me. That is not ethical, not moral, and should certainly not be legal. He could take any one of your properties he wants, and GoDaddy will help him, and the courts will help him, and then he can just redirect that top of the search engine placement back at a blog post that trashes you. Something wrong with that. The commercial code, the First Amendment, there's a whole bunch of laws. Just shut that down. Okay, XBiz bragging about all his porn connections and laws, and that he has a right to being protected with his personal name. Yet him and his buddies have crystal-cox.com, and they're at the top of the search engines for my name. I believe that's Jordan Rush's. It's Randazza Legal Group connected site. They have lots of hate sites on me, but they've taken away all of my gripe sites on them. Okay. He accuses me of registering and infringing domain names. I registered domain names to speak about what it was that I was talking about. If you have a grievance about a company, you kind of have to use their name in order to gripe about them. All right. Okay. Then he accuses me of a smear campaign against him, and that's why I registered markrandazza.com, knowing full well that that's a lie because he was to be my attorney on the day I registered it. He acted as my attorney for a couple of weeks. And then he completely violated my rights. He backed me into the corner. He tried to cut a deal. He was sidestepping me having another attorney. And Eugene Bollock called me one day and told me, well, he emailed me and then we talked on the phone, that Mark Randazza had told people at the First Amendment bar that he represented me. And Eugene was saying, well, that's okay. I have in Mark's own words at a recent discovery thing that interrogatories where he said that he offered for Eugene to join him. Well, but yet he also claims that he didn't represent me. He was cutting a deal so that my case would just go away and I wouldn't be able to appeal. He was letting my time run out. He was completely violating my rights. I fired him, and now he says that I registered. And so then after that, I realized just what a horrible person he was. And that's when I started reporting on him. And then I got tips from all directions, of course, because he doesn't have goodwill, good reputation. Okay, so then it lists the domain names again. Okay, and he says it was to harm him, his family, and his business. It was to warn the public. It was to make fun of him. It was to gripe about him. It was to warn future and past victims of what he's capable of and all of his Randazza legal groupies. Okay. She also made offensive comments regarding Jennifer Randazza's sexuality, referring to her as a slut in several places. Well, it's un-American to silence Rush Limbaugh from calling Sandra Fluke a slut, but it's not un-American for Mark Randazza to silence Crystal Cox from calling his wife a slut? All right, just for the record, Jennifer Randazza is a slut, in my opinion. Okay, then he accuses me of having a website of his 3-year-old daughter. Never happened, not true, flat out lie. It was a non-commercial site. He's completely lying, fraud on the courts, abuse of the courts. Okay, the first cause of action, violation of individual cyber privacy protection. And again, you can look at the denial of the summary judgment in this case, and the judge gives reasons for pretty much shooting down everything in here. He no longer has a case, as far as I see it, but he still keeps filing stuff, he still keeps attacking me, mostly because he knows that I have a case against him. Because Judge Gloria Navarro denied me having a counterclaim. She said I couldn't even, she threw out my answers too, and she said that I couldn't answer to civil conspiracy because you have to read it to see the reasons, but civil conspiracy was one of his cause of action. Judge Gloria Navarro just said things that was completely bogus, unlawful, out in left field, just to protect Mark Randazza. It didn't even make any sense. And then they totally stripped my rights of a countercomplaint. And then there was a new judge on the scene, and a year later, so last February, I finally got in a counterclaim, and I have a legitimate claim against him in malpractice and defamation. And we will talk about my claim later as we go over the more documents here, but I'm just giving you an overview of the complaint right now. So in that one, he doesn't really have a case on that one, and he's an expert in this area. So violation of individual cyber privacy protection. I did not violate that law. I had gripe sites. He stole the blogs already. He's already ruined them. There's no recovery. But he doesn't really have cyber privacy protection, piracy protection, over me griping about him on my sites, making fun of him, exposing him, reviewing him, and getting higher in the search engines. That cause of action is completely bogus. It's just, I did not violate that law in any way. He has no cause of action. Okay, and there's a whole bunch of more lies and defamation. And then for markrandazza.me, he claims that I offered it to him for $5 million. I bought it because he took my other names to say, you know, screw you. And then I put on one of my sites, here, kitty kitty, not Tamar, just fucking with him and his buddies. And I said, it was for sale for $5 million. I can sell a domain name for anything I want. I've been in the part of the domain aftermarket since 2005. I met the man who sold business.com and min.com. You can buy a domain name for whatever you want. You can sell it for whatever you want. You have to renew it every year, though. He doesn't get to tell me that I can't buy a domain name and offer it for sale for anything I want. I didn't offer it to him. I didn't offer to take anything down. I was just messing with him. But he's accused me of all kinds of things. He even says it, Mark Randazza, domain name for sale. Here, kitty, kitty. And he accuses me that's some sort of a crime. He probably should have called the police, or the FBI, or the Department of Justice, and not whined to his little buddy, Judge Gloria Navarro. Wah, 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 wah. He's so butthurt, and he loves using that word, so I love using his stuff up against him. All right. So, he says under 15 U.S.C. 8131 and 1116, plaintiffs are specifically entitled to injunctive relief, costs, and attorney fees. No, they're not. But me being pro se, I should get 2 years of attorney fees, harassment, stolen intellectual property, willful wanton neglect. He's completely, he knows the law and he deliberately violated the law to come after me. This can happen to you folks. Mark Randazza has done it to many people. Any attorney out there can target you for any reason. You have to fight back. All right, the second cause of action is violation of individual cyber piracy protection, and it's another 15 USC. It looks like it's the same thing, but he has a lot of doubles. Things are out of order. I don't know if Ron Green was drunk when he did this complaint or what, but it's a little mixed up. So when I answered it, my answers were a little mixed up. I had to explain why they were numbered out of order. I wanted to say, well, I think Randazza Legal Group attorney was drunk because the numbers are backwards and all over the place. But I didn't say that. Okay, so that one doesn't make any sense. The third cause of action is the same thing. Violation of individual cyber piracy protection. Tipping on the bottle. Then they put in a bunch more exhibits claiming that because I've used their name and called them names and neener, then they have a right to steal all my stuff. Okay, fourth cause of action, cyber squatting. So basically accusing me of stealing their good name and then making money off of it. Because basically in cyber squatting, you got to make some money, right? You have to have the intention of making money. All right, plaintiffs incorporate the allegations above. Okay, by registering and using the infringing domain names, Cox and Bernstein have registered, trafficked in, and or used domain names that are identical or confusing to the plaintiff's trademark. There's no way that someone could confuse Randazza Legal Group sucks. Mark Randazza is a lying asshole. And some of these other names with something that was offering services by Mark Randazza. He knows he's wrong. He knows that he has violated my rights, my constitutional rights, my legal rights. He's fought, but because he's an expert in slap lawsuits and First Amendment rights and free speech and intellectual property, he keeps hanging on to this because, he looks like the idiot that he is. Okay, so it goes on about the conflicting names, and you'll have to read that. Then fifth cause of action is cyber squatting again under a different code. There was no cyber squatting, none. He knows it, I know it, everybody knows it, and he used this to violate my rights, harass me, dig into my private information and my private life, render me homeless, render me penniless, chase away all my clients, threaten my friends, threaten my family, threaten my church, and all because he's an attorney and I'm not. Okay, sixth cause of action, right of publicity. Well, I think that's not even legal in Nevada, but I did not violate his right of publicity. So basically the Lanham and the Trademark Act is the main heading of this. And I didn't violate either one of those either. He did not have a trademark on his name, and I'm perfectly within my free speech rights to gripe about him. Okay. And then he also accused me of, let's see, this one, I think this one's the same one. The sixth, right? The common law intrusion upon seclusion. And you have to have a certain standard that you expect seclusion and privacy. And when you're a porn attorney that brags about being on CNN and brags about being on Fox News and an expert in doing all these things, there's just no way that you would have an expectation of seclusion and rights to no one bitching about you or griping about you. But then I did, but I did it in such a big way on the internet and took over the search engines that he got mad and sued me. All right. And he's calling himself a private citizen. Oh, the use of private citizen, check this out, folks. No, it's line 99. The use of private citizen, Mrs. Randazza's name and likeness, particularly in connection with the use of the word slut, is highly offensive to a reasonable person. Jennifer Randazza did nothing to instigate defendants' use of her names and likeness for their own purpose. No, she didn't do anything. Mark pretty much laid out on his blog that she was a slut, said he knocked her up in a drunken tryst and must marry her. It's interesting, in this, he says she is a private citizen. Okay, but in his lawsuit against Monica Foster, they're claiming she had a trademark because she's a public figure and that Monica's violated her trademark. It's hypocritical throughout this whole thing. I mean, they accused me of having the site RandazzaNews.com, then they accused Monica of having it. They accused me of doing, having that that parody of their daughter 20 years from now, and then they sued Monica for having the parody. And so they just really use the courts to do whatever dirty work they want. You know, Monica Foster, Alexandra Mayer, she exposes the porn industry. She is an incredible investigative blogger, and she's exposing him and his buddies, and so he sued her in a state court. He sued me in a federal court. And he does this just to harass people and get their private information. He named them both in a legal action, and me and Elliot Bernstein in a legal action in Florida because the law favored his game there. And he got information in our bank accounts, he got our GoDaddy accounts, every domain name we ever had, any business contacts. He's also got any wires that I've got, my phone numbers, my bank account information, my church information, trips I've took. I am a pastor at my church. He's got information on the people that I help and that I counsel, and he seems to be above the law. So when the attorneys sue you, then they are officers of the court and they can pretty much get any information they want from anybody. And this is not right, folks. Definitely not right. Okay. When he says that as a direct result of my conduct, he has suffered injury and mental health issues. Oh, mental health and safety. He's put me under extreme duress. I'm homeless. He has taken every opportunity that I've had to have and this is after my $2.5 million lawsuit. My big case is over. You know, I won my appeal. And now I have to fight the attorney that offered to represent me for free in that case because he keeps attacking me, suing me, threatening me, sending people to threaten me. I think he had somebody watching me, following me around town. He's threatened my friends. He's bullied. I've told you over and over on these videos, I won't keep going on, but he has ruined my life, and he was my attorney, all because he's butthurt because he didn't get to represent me on what is now a landmark, first of its kind, higher court decision that gives equal rights to all bloggers as the biggest paid journalist out there. Okay, so he wanted to have that win. He didn't get it. He keeps attacking me and attacking me. I've got nothing more to take. I don't have a home. I lost my home in May, and I was living in church housing then. You know, I have no income. Every time I try to do something online, they see what him and his buddies have said. He has ruined my life, and these attorneys seem to be above the law. They target you. They don't like you for whatever reason because you're smarter than them, in my case. I got on top of the search engines and Mark didn't like it, so he took away my domain names. I called his wife a slut, even though the idiot didn't realize that on his own blog he basically paints her out as a slut, and he's defending Rush Limbaugh. He's just a serious hypocrite. Okay, and then he accuses me of civil conspiracy. This is mostly with Elliot Bernstein, who had no idea. Elliot Bernstein has never controlled any of my blogs or written on any of my blogs. And Mark Randazza, I think he just brought him into this case to try to harass him because of the I View It technology. The porn industry uses the I View It technology every single minute, and Elliot Bernstein and the I View It technology folks invented that video technology, and they never got paid for it. They never got any patent. People just use it, and the porn industry is the biggest one. The porn industry companies offered I View It about 11, 12 years ago. They offered them, I think, $1 million or $2 million for the technology, which is now worth $13 trillion. And, you know, it doesn't make any sense for Mark Randazza to have sued Elliot Bernstein. I don't even understand what he thinks that Elliot Bernstein has to do with my blogs. Elliot Bernstein is just someone I reported on, just like Monica Foster and Diana Grandmason. He sued them all, but basically they were just people who had inside knowledge into stuff in the porn industry, and I was reporting a story on them. I've never even met Monica Foster or Diana Grandmason. I met Elliot once 4 years ago for like a few hours when I was in the Boca Raton area. So it makes no sense other than to try to harass them and silence them. So there was no civil conspiracy. And what he wants is, I think it's $150,000 it says here. He names every single code, and it really is a shocking complaint. You'll have to study it out, but he wants $100,000 for each one of those domains I listed above. You know, like Randazza Legal Group Sucks.com, MarkRandazzaSucks.com. He defended other people having suck sites, gripe sites, but he stole mine. And he wants me to give him $100,000 per each domain name and attorney fees. And one of the documents I seen, Randazza Legal Group, something they filed against Elliot, that they pretty much think they're worth $10,000 a month. So it's been 2 years, so that would be about $240,000 in legal fees they probably think I owe them for them harassing me, threatening me, rendering me homeless, ruining my life, and the life of everyone else that I've ever known. All right, well, there's that. We'll talk about other court motions in here. I'm going to post my defenses. I think there's going to be a trial, probably be in the spring. And so you can email me, ReverendCrystalCox@gmail.com, if you want to represent me in the Randazza versus Cox case. I believe I have a very good countersuit against him, and I've sued him for $10 million. Whether I will prevail or not, who knows? Hopefully I do. I'm kind of tired of being homeless, but I'm going to follow it to the end the best I can. I don't get to the post office much. I don't have any money to print any court motions. I'm praying for a miracle. But if anyone wants to represent me on contingency, email me, and I will talk to you soon about every motion in this case, where he said one thing and said the opposite. Later he claimed the case was about extortion. He said in this, wants to make sure it's not about defamation. Then later he says it's about defamation. If you study each document in this case, you'll understand what these attorneys do. All right, well, blessings to you all.